And we're back to continue our discussion of shared parameters. So in the last tutorial, we created shared parameters from scratch by simply looking at the parameters that currently exist in this file and recreating them in a shared parameter file. Another way to do this is to simply export them, but you can only do that if they already exist in a separate shared parameter file. So let's go to our family types and let's add a new parameter. So we want to make a shared parameter, of course. Select that. And when you go to edit, now you can see that I have taken the liberty of creating a second shared parameter file, door2. And now that we're going to create this second or populate this second shared parameter file with a new parameter, we can then export it out to our original shared parameter file called door. So let's go back and add our same grouping that we've been working under, materials and finishes. And again, let's add a new parameter. Let's just say number of panels, since we're still working on describing this door. You can leave it at common, and this is going to be an integer parameter. You can say okay, okay, and let's go to that one to select to actually place within the file. Okay, and this is going to be an instance parameter, because remember here we can change the panel type. So in some cases it will be 4 panels, and in some cases it will be something else. So we say okay, and look at that, we did not group it properly. So let's modify that and put it where we want it to be under materials and finishes. Okay. So now we have a new shared parameter in this file. So if I want to now get this shared parameter into our other file, I can go to modify, shared parameter, select, edit. Let's switch it back to our door file. Open, okay, cancel, okay, and now that is our current shared parameter file. Remember in the first video we discussed swapping the file swapping the shared reference parameter file that's being referenced by the family. So we just swapped door2 and switched it back to door1 or door, and now we can modify and export and it's telling us, okay, this is going to be added to the current shared parameter file under the grouping exported parameters. Okay. So when we go to select, go to edit, and you can see we're in the door file, and we now have a new grouping, exported parameters. Now, if we want this to show under materials and finishes, we can then go ahead and change the grouping. And we just do that by simply selecting move and selecting the new group that we want it to be under. Okay, so now you can see when parameter group exported parameters is selected, there are no parameters under that grouping. But when you go to materials and finishes, 1, 2, 3, 4, those are our parameters, the same 1, 2, 3, 4 that currently exist in the file. Okay, cancel, okay, and now we've both exported to a shared parameter file, and we modified that shared parameter file by changing the grouping. Now, if you want to delete a grouping altogether, that grouping has to be empty. So if we go back to our shared parameter file, and as you can see, we have 3 groupings here, but the dimensions grouping is empty. So I can go ahead and delete that grouping. It just makes sure that I want to do that, but I can say yes. But if I go to materials and finishes and select delete, it's not empty. So that means that I have to delete all of the parameters under that grouping before it allows me to delete the group. Another thing you may notice about editing these parameters, once they're in the shared parameter file, you can only look at their properties. You can see here everything is grayed out. You can't change any of this information about the parameter. If there's something that you want to change, you have to recreate that parameter in this file. So either if you don't want frame material to come up the way it's currently coming up, we would have to delete it from this file, recreate it, and change the properties of it when we recreate it. So for example, let's go ahead and delete door material. And this is just warning me that we currently have a file that's referencing this particular parameter. So if I change this parameter, that file, as well as any tags, etc., won't be able to have this information from this parameter. So we can say yes. The other thing that it's warning us is if we're to do exactly what we're doing now, deleting this parameter and replacing it with another parameter with the exact same name, you can't use them interchangeably when you're scheduling or tagging. So I would say get all of your shared parameters in properly, the way that you want them to be before you start tagging objects within your project. And sometimes that just doesn't happen. Something comes up, you need a new description that you realize once you're trying to create the schedule, then you need to give it a separate name so that there won't be any confusion throughout your families. So let's go ahead and delete that. And we can make a new one. And we'll do the same thing, door material, common. And for this one, we can say text, just so that would allow us to enter something that we wanted to do. So for example, if we wanted to type metal or wood, instead of going to the material library and using something that's already in our material library, we could do that. Or if you were working under another system where each door material was referenced through a number, so 1 would equal wood, 2 would equal metal, we could select number. So for us, let's just go ahead and put text. We'll just type in what we want the door material to be and say OK. And those are the basics of modifying shared parameter files. So the quick review is that shared parameters can't be renamed or changed via the type, meaning once you've created the parameter and you've decided that it's a type or instance parameter, you saw in the shared parameter file, all this information that's down here is grayed out. So that can't be changed once it's been created. And you can only regroup or delete the parameter. You cannot modify it, again, because all of these things are grayed out in the shared parameter file. The one other tip is that shared parameters can be replaced by family parameters. That means that I can simply swap this out to a family parameter. So in our next video, we'll look at taking these shared parameters to the next level and creating tags.